Yeah, buddy.
What do you guys know about smuggling heroin through your anus?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to Deluxe Edition. As always, my name is Bill Siebold, and I'm here with Mr. Casey. Oh, what's wrong, Casey? Oh, there's the smoke. You couldn't hold it. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it.
Every week you try and drag that out longer and longer and longer.
Yeah, I didn't know if you noticed.
Yeah, I noticed.
How you doing, my friend?
Good, buddy. How are you?
My colleague, my pal. Doing good. We're trying out a new recording system. A lot more fancy than Zoom, so this should be fun. But we actually had a Zoom interview just a couple days ago. We were going to try to pull off that it's the same day. You wore the proper shirt. I forgot to do that. So a little behind the scenes editing was what we were supposed to do to pull this off. But we've interviewed who, Casey?
Gregory Scott Cummins. So the reason I wore this shirt, and I explained it in the interview, I've always seen Greg in things. If anyone's a fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, he plays Mac's dad, Luther. But then I saw him in this movie, Hackolantern, on The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder, and it changed my life.
For the better, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I've become quite the Gregory Scott Cummins fan. I've watched quite a few of his movies, his early movies, the ones that he talks about that he just did to pretty much do them.
Well, he's a working actor, you got to make money somehow. If it were my first acting job and somebody said to me, hey, yeah, we got a gig here where you just get kicked in the nuts for an hour, I'd take the job, Like right now, you and I have a pinky in Hollywood. Like I would be trying to do anything I could to get more than just a pinky in. I would want to try to work my way through the system. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. I mean, he was actually just doing some of those early ones for free just to get a reel, just to get things on a reel so he could get more work,
Well, he never realized, 2021 will come around. The internet will be a thing. This thing called YouTube will exist and all this shit is going to come back up. Or Amazon Prime. For me, Amazon Prime is like nothing but awesome B horror movies. I go to Netflix and I tune through and there's nothing I like. I go to Amazon Prime and it's like, oh, you're going to love Class of Nukem High 3.
Yeah.
Damn, you're right, Amazon Prime.
There is so much content out there, though, right now. I mean, it's so ridiculous. There's Netflix, Shudder, Amazon Prime, Tubi. Those are the ones I have. What else is there? Hulu. I have Hulu also.
HBO Max, yeah.
HBO Max.
I don't know if you said Disney. I forget. I have a very short-term
Disney
memory. Yeah.
It's just there's so much stuff.
Peacock.
It's ridiculous. Peacock. Mm-hmm. They just keep. It seems like they keep adding some.
Paramount.
All right, we get it. There's a lot of them.
Playboy probably has one. Remember the Playboy channel? Maybe only I remember. Yeah, man, there is so much stuff out there. But, I think that's great for some of the people that we love to watch. It gives them a second audience. So the more the merrier.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Greg is a great guy. I mean, he's such a great guy. We had to edit it out, but he actually gave his address on. I mean, that's how nice of a guy he is. We asked about where people can send their stuff to get autographed, and he just gave his address.
Yeah, we don't know who's listening. We're sure everybody listening to us would never go to his house,
right?
Like a stalker from our other episode where we were talking about stalkers. But just, we're not going to take any chances.
Right.
It's scary enough that Casey now has his address. Why don't we get on with the interview?
All right, this episode is brought to you by Michael Ortiz, our patron on Patreon. If you want to be like Michael, go to patreon.com/deluxe edition pod and support the show. And no other sponsors this week, no other affiliates. That's something we can talk about another time.
Yeah,
But,
and if you bought anything from our old affiliates, unbuy it. Quick. Fuck them. Fuck them. That'll be another story for another time. Let's get on with the interview.
All right, Bill.
Hey, Greg, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We love your movie career. I mean, and your TV career. We just love looking at IMDb and seeing all these things and going, yeah, we saw that. Yeah, we saw that. And the more that we talk about it, the more we're like, oh, yeah. Like, we realize that you were probably in every single thing that we loved growing up. So it's really awesome to have you here.
Well, I appreciate it. I played bad guys for a lot of years because, I started late. I didn't get until after graduate school. I finished at 29 and then I did theater, and then I started doing non-union films to work my way in, about 7 or 8 of them, until I became a union, and then worked my way up slowly. So I found every time I'd start auditioning for the leading man roles, I was a little better looking then, but, still, it obviously still shows because, as you're looking, it's pretty incredible, obviously. But then I just grew my hair out long and I started growing the beard growth and I started playing bad guys. And every time I auditioned for a bad guy, I just started getting it. Like 9 out of 10 auditions. It was just so to work, I just started playing bad guys because I wanted to work. And I just, because the independent, not non-union or low budget films, I was playing the leading man or the lead bad guy, the lead good guy, the lead bad guy. It was always action stuff.
You feeling reformed? Completely. I burned down your meth cabin, Rupert.
Fuck you.
I was violent.
You better stay the fuck away from her, my friend.
Big girl, hard to miss.
Fuck you. She is big and beautiful. And I am out of here in 36 hours.
Drive straight to Nevada.
But as I started working my way up, the casting directors, they didn't know. Like I'd play a nice guy on one show. I'd play a dangerous bad guy in another show. I'd play a tough guy in another show, but a nice guy, a leading man character. Or I'd play a gay queen on divorce court or whatever. So I had all these different casting directors knowing me all these different ways, which is what an actor really wants. But the thing is that once they see you do one thing, because they've got, hundreds and thousands of people with pictures sending them for each role, they don't think, that everybody is versatile, and they can play a lot of different things. So my agent would call in and they say, oh, well, no, he can't play a bad guy. He's a really nice character. Or he can't play a nice guy. He's a really bad character. Or he can't play a weak bad guy because he's a really tough, dangerous, psycho bad guy. And they don't understand that you can change yourself. They don't think that way. Even with stars, sometimes they don't think that way. So I actually had to give them one thing, one category that seemed to be the one that I would work most in or get most auditions in. So I grew the hair long, grew the goatee out, and I played bad guy for years. I kind of made myself look that way. It was horrible for my personal life for a lot of years, but what are you going to do? Obviously, I when they wanted the really good-looking bad guys, they hired me, and then if they wanted the real ugly bad guys, well, then they hire everybody else. But that's just my own little dream world, and I like it there. So
that's great. Well, how's it different working now? I mean, you're on a popular show now. You're on Bosch, so it's like a show that like people are talking about, people are pretty excited about.
Yeah,
it has to be different than kind of coming up and doing small jobs at a time.
Well, yeah, years ago when you played a bad guy, you do a movie or you do an episodic, your TV show, a Walker, Texas Ranger, a Renegade, a Hunter, or whatever. There were so many shows on. You just do one episode and then you're auditioning 4 or 8 times every week. You're not working, and then you get another job and you're going somewhere else, and another job, and you go auditions, and it's really nice. I've been wanting to, but they didn't have serial episodics then where you had a bad guy lasting a whole season or a group of seasons, So, and I could never get on as a sidekick, because I wasn't a star or a name, but you want to get on a show as a sidekick and this and that. But I'm 6'4". So I would walk into every audition, honestly, and other than maybe a few people like Fred Dreyer for Hunter and all that, a lot of people weren't as tall. And I hate to say it, but, cast directors would come in and finally say to me, I won't waste your time anymore. You see that line on the wall? Anybody over that line who just can't cast for a sidekick regular role, a recurring role, or a series regular, because you make the star of the show look short. So that's why the bad guys work, because I could be taller. So as far as Bosch, this has been, I've been wanting to be, a running role in a series it's been 36 years now. So I got this in my 29th year of acting. So professionally. So this has been heaven for me. And, and I decided as I got older to, cut the hair short and cut the beard growth and play detectives and cops and CEOs and FBI and CIA, whatever. And I got this, and I just lucked out to work with some of the best people in the business on a show that, you knew was going to go with Michael Connelly, with his following with the novels. And they cast the most perfect actor and the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet, Titus Welliver, to play Bosch. And because of those things, and Eric Overmyer, who created The Wire, and he's the head writer who adapts things. So he's involved with all the scripts, sometimes with Michael Connelly, sometimes on his own, and they'll bring in other writers, but he's always overseeing it. So the group of producers is just top-notch, A-grade producers. And it's just, and they created an incredible cast, and they paired me up with Beryl, Creighton Beryl, or the Creighton. I play Creighton. Troy Evans plays Beryl, and they put me with him, who was just an incredible guy, incredible actor, and we just have this rapport. And then they've written some great stuff for our characters. So it's a very serious cop show, a detective show with some serious cases. And but the whole supporting cast is just, Lance Reddick playing Chief Irving. They got Amy Aquino playing Lieutenant Billets. They've got Maddie playing Bosch's daughter, and got DeJuan Johnson and playing Pierce, and Jacqueline Obrador playing Vega, and just Scott Place playing Mankiewicz. And it's just this. And Jamie. Oh my God, Jamie Hector playing Bosch's partner, J. Edgar, is just like incredible. I mean, he and Lance blew everybody away on The Wire. I mean, and he's got a following of just, he's just a star. Both of them are just incredibly good. And, it's been the job of a lifetime. If I literally didn't get another job, I would be like, you know what, I'm good. I hate to say that, but I'm good, because I plan on keeping working, but it's been really the job of a lifetime. They've got some spinoff going. I don't know if there's a chance of being on that, but even if we don't, it's just been the job of a lifetime. The group, people they put together, the crew, the producers are just all so incredible. The directors they bring on the show, and the crew, it's just been this great family. I have never wanted to go to work more than when I have been working on this show. So they're just some people. They're just some show. It's why I got into theater in the first place and became an actor. I enjoyed, from the sport world, you don't get quite as close. People are a little more machismo, macho. You don't express your feelings as much, and you become friends with a few people. But in theater, everybody's like pouring their feelings out there, and you get close to people. And that's why I enjoyed theater in college. And then, over at PCPA Theater Fest in Solveig, Santa Maria was my first professional job in theater. But then I moved back to film. But I haven't had that, for short periods, I'd have that with maybe working with Bill Whitliff on a series after he did Lonesome Dove, or I'd get, but they would be just short time periods of time. I got very close with the group on Cliffhanger. I mean, we were together 6 months in the mountains, and we all became very close. But that's just 6 months. This has been 7 years. This is like everybody is just family on this show to me. And there's a whole bunch of actors I didn't mention that have been on for a season or recurring through the 7 seasons, or people that maybe did a whole season but aren't on there now, that that are just outstanding people. They didn't just cast great actors, but they cast really nice people. I couldn't wait until my next day of working. Usually I'm just like, oh, I have to get up at 5 a.m. I got to go to work. Oh God, and for me, it would be like, oh geez, I get to work today. I get to go see everybody. It's kind of that way with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I just haven't worked as much on that show over the years, but I get that same kind of feeling with them. But it's not like I'm, like a series regular on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or, I'm recurring on Bosch, but we do, most of the episodes every season, 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 out of the 10, But it's been the job of a lifetime, really.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you were saying earlier, you have a lot of different of styles and a lot of different roles in the past.
Yeah.
What is, and this is where my questions are going, you're going the same direction, but so you don't need to repeat yourself. But it seems, I was going to ask, is it better to have stability with a show like this, or do you sometimes miss going back and having the new challenges of trying to be a new character and trying a new genre that maybe you haven't been in?
I just have a quick story. Fred Dreyer hired me. I played a Hunter episode where, the bad guy years ago, back in the early 90s, they really liked that episode, the character that I played. So when he did the return of Hunter back in the 2000s, he made the pilot, and he wanted me to be, out of all the bad guy characters, they wanted to hire names. NBC wanted to hire names. And he said, no, I want Greg Cummins but he's going to play this role, and he hired me in an independent film too. So I worked with him a bunch, and he was just really nice to me. And so he was jealous. He said, after the Hunter was over and the series didn't go, the return of Hunter, he said, I'm jealous, Greg. I said, you play all these different characters and all this stuff. And I cannot get hired because of Hunter. I cannot get hired in another character. And I said, you probably have a really big house, and you probably have like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars tucked away, and you don't ever have to worry about working again. And I'm still a blue-collar actor struggling, working different jobs, jumping job to job to job to job. Yes, I'm changing characters, but I'll trade with you in a second. I said, you made it. You don't ever have to work a day in your life, and you can create your own films if you want. You can do anything you want. And, I'll take your bank account and have a 9-year running series, and then you can come and take my bank account and play all these different roles and all that. I said, I don't even want to hear it. And that's kind of the way I feel about it. No, I could go on with this role for 20 years and I would be happy, because the writers, they create such great stuff for our characters, for Crate and Barrel, and then again for the whole show, for all the characters. It went 7 years and they put an end to it, and they're going to do a spinoff now, but I could have gone on forever. So yeah, I like playing different characters, but it's a hard life being a blue collar actor, going in and, doing so many auditions all the time, and then flying here, flying there, going abroad, flying here, flying there. I'm very happy that I was able to work for a lot of years, but it's, we're not making big movie star money or anything, or like if you were a lead on a series, then you're going to make more money. But, I haven't been, like the star of a series. I've just been supporting on the series. So I'll be comfortable in retirement, but just, comfortable. I'm not rich by any means. So,
it's starting to become clear the more that we talk to people. I mean, we're in the 80s and the 90s, every production seemed like it was $1 billion trillion. Every star was bigger than all the stars combined. It was just, we were blown away by everybody and everything we saw. And as we're talking to people who are working actors, I love the phrase blue collar actor, because that's exactly what we've been learning, sometimes you're fighting to get a job, and sometimes you're.
Oh yeah, it never ends. I mean, yeah, it never ends. There's not a point where you're just continuing, to audition, and yeah, it's nice getting versatile roles and things like that. But as you start getting older, it starts getting harder and harder. And I did, when you play the bad guys, well, you're doing all the fight scenes and you're doing all the stunts and a lot of times they would hire a stuntman, but I was still able to do everything anyway. So he would just kind of sit around and, I just didn't do full fire burns or high fall, anything over a 3-story fall. But other than that, I'm beat up, and it gets, when I hit like 50, 48, 52, oh man, I'm 65 now. I'm beat up. I'm crippled. Like I played about 18 years at a regular position in the NFL or something. It's no joke. I wouldn't go do stunts. Some people on the Cliffhanger who did the stunt coordinators, they asked me if I wanted to just come and do stunts for them because I was good. I was athletic. I was an athlete in college and high school and all that. But I just said, no, I'll just do my own stunts with the dialogue, so when I get roles with dialogue, but I'm just not going to go to a set every day and get paid a certain amount of money to just get beat up, At least, when I get bad guy roles, I'm not beat up every day I'm working, so I get beat up sometimes. And I got a lot of jobs because I could do my own stunts too, and they knew that. People, had seen things I did before, and they knew that I did my own stuff. So they could save money on stuntmen.
Do they know this kind of information? Did they know that you had an athletic background? Did they know that you did sports and did football in school? They said you can come in and do this, but they must have been
no, they didn't know. I mean, well, from all the stuff I'd done previously, they're aware of things. When I first started, I just started doing all that stuff, and it was all action film. So I get a demo reel tape, and then they could see a bunch of stuff that I did on that, or they might have seen the show or whatever. And so they realized it over time. And even if then they didn't have the money to hire stuntmen in the lower budget stuff or the independent stuff, even the union independent stuff, they already knew that I, did my own stunts. So, we would just do the fight scenes and things like that. And, so people who hired me knew people like Stephen Cannell or Stu Siegel down in San Diego, or, if I got hired on a film, I got Cliffhanger. Well, I got Cliffhanger because they knew I could do my own stuff. It was rugged up in the mountains there in the Italian Alps, and we were hanging off cliffs, and they knew I could do all that because of stuff I'd done before, So
do you think doing your own stunts is probably the reason you're where you are now?
No.
You did tons of action stuff to get started. I mean,
I did train really hard to be a decent actor, at least, I'm not saying I'm the best actor in the world, but you go to auditions, you don't do stunts in auditions. You have to earn the role with your acting. Sometimes people would work with me again that knew I could do stunts, but they hired me because of my acting. But I like to pretend that they hired me because of my incredibly good looks. But so all those acting classes and all the masters in acting at UCLA and all that stuff, that was all totally unnecessary. It's my good looks is the reason that I've had a career all these years. That's what I like to think, and I'm good with that.
I agree with it. Really, when I traced your career, it was a lot of action stuff. And then at some point, you started to get a lot of comedy stuff. I remember Head of the Class. Like, I remember you in that sitcom playing the bad guy, scaring the geek.
Yeah.
Kid, I wouldn't sell this gun to just anybody. But you look like you know how to handle a piece, huh?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of a rod is this?
It is very special. In fact, it's called a Saturday night special.
Oh, hey, those are against the law.
Come on, kid. Think of an A.
How did you get good
No,
at comedy?
that's just being versatile. I mean, I did everything. I started off with all the Shakespeare and Greek and Restoration comedy in college. And then, I got the leads and, Shakespeare plays and, Orlando and As You Like It, Benedict, Much Ado About Nothing. And those were comedies, and then, you do Hamlet, you do other things. And so you just learn to be versatile. And then I got a little more honest with my acting once I went through the kind of method, where instead of the outside in kind of approach of the old Shakespearean styles of Laurence Olivier and those guys, I kind of learned how to internalize things more and create from the inside. And that's what I learned in the graduate school in the master's program. And so now I can incorporate both, but they never let me play anything that was close to my type. In college, in the master's program, they made me play characters that were always totally different than the way I was, to stretch myself, to break down the barriers, to not do what was easy, but make me play things that were outside my comfort zone and that were not the leading man character. And they stretched me. So that's what allowed me to, when I played, I did 3 lines on A Mama's Family. I did 2 lines on a Murphy Brown. So, when you're starting out, you just have to work your way up. They have to see you can do okay, and you get co-starring roles, and all of a sudden you get bigger guest starring roles, and then your roles get bigger. But comedy, I'm a goofball in real life anyway, so I just, that just comes naturally to me anyway. But comedy, you don't try to act funny. I'm not a comedian, but it's just a heightened reality, and the situations become funny, but you still have to play them seriously or it's not believable. It's just like bad acting. So, but that's what Sunny in Philadelphia is I play a character where he seems like he's a little over the top, but when I'm playing him, I'm honest. I just, when I'm playing a badass mofo, and the eyes are popping and you just got the hair slicked back, you got the goatee, I'm just thinking, I'm just one badass mofo. Yeah. And I don't give a shit about my son. I lower the voice a little bit and, it's just like, what do you want? And then when I think I can get something from you, I might try to be a little nice, But it's like, but if I get pissed at you, I'm really pissed. But the counterbalance with their characters is what makes it funny. They hired me because there were a lot of people trying to play that character funny. And I didn't. I played him like really intense and real, although it was a little over the top. But but I played characters like that in serious projects, films and TV shows where you're just a psycho, dangerous person, but the counterbalance with them, all of a sudden it becomes incredibly funny because of their reactions.
Yeah.
So it's just part of learning how to be an actor. Some people just play themselves all the time, and if they can make a living or become famous at that, that's great. There are guys that I worked with that are just the greatest guys, like David Hasselhoff or somebody like that. I worked with him like a whole bunch. He's the greatest guy in the world. Now, first thing he said to me is, look, he knows he's just being himself when he's acting. And he said, I'm never going to play Hamlet. I know it. I don't have that kind of ability. But he was able to make a very successful career out of, the car thing and then Baywatch. And, what a great guy. And then, an egoless in terms of, he never did all that studying. He never expanded his abilities beyond that. He didn't have to, but you know what? That's okay. Because what he did was successful. My teachers in graduate school always said, it's better to do one thing really good for TV and film than, 20 things just average, So, but for me, I just figured if I can just do 1 or 2 or 3 things at least, really good or whatever, but that's it. I studied. I was in theater training for, since I was 18. So that, through, it's 10, 12, 11 years of just nothing but doing plays and doing theater. and taking acting classes, so, and doing community theater and whatever. So, you develop a certain amount of experience and versatility when you do that, because, in theater, you kind of really have to learn how to play a lot of different characters if you want to be successful,
When I think about your body of work, I mean, because you've gone through decades, you've transcended different styles of media, and
yeah,
we saw. I got a question for you. So a movie called Action USA, I saw it on my Amazon Prime, and I said, "Oh, it's due," and I get it, and it's old. So it's a old lost film of yours, and getting to see you back then. I mean, I don't mean to be mean, but your acting is not what it is now.
No. Yeah,
and it's fascinating to watch.
We were given, we had a very low budget. It was one of the early independent films that I did. I mean, we had no budget. They would set a camera up and they'd say, "You got one take," and then we got to move on. We shot that thing in about like less than 2 weeks with all that action and all those stunts. The actors, we tried to do the best we could with the script, but we didn't have time to do a lot of rehearsal and takes and all that. We didn't have the money. So, it was just flying by the seat of your pants. And, you do the best you can in the situation. It's kind of like, a really great actor on a soap opera will come across pretty good, and a pretty good actor on a soap opera will come across average, and an average actor will come across not so good, because you get, 20 or 30 pages a day, maybe 25 pages a day the morning you're shooting, of that day, so you can only put so much time or work, if the better actor you are, you can maybe bring it to yourself and make it, something, but it's really hard to experiment to find a depth to characters, when you've got that much dialogue in that amount of short time.
But you say they bring the pages to you, so I think I'm understanding you're waking
Well,
up.
if you're doing a soap opera, they're shooting, 50 minutes, 48 minutes for an hour episode a day with commercials. So every character on there, is getting the script like late at night, the night before you shoot the next morning, and you get 20, 25, 30. I've done soap operas, and I played a bad guy on General Hospital and Santa Barbara and Young and Restless, and you get, so I get like 30 pages, and I'd be up on a trip, and I'd fly in the morning, and then you just memorize as fast as you can, and you just do it. And when they shoot it, they expect you to go up on lines, because you kind of go 3, 4, 5 lines, and then somebody falls a line, you step back one line, and then you just keep shooting, and you don't go over things, you don't retake, you don't get second takes. It's just they're cranking it out because they have a lot to shoot in the day, and sometimes they'll shoot 12-hour days, sometimes they'll shoot 16, 18-hour days, but they have to get it shot that day so it gets in the bank, and then the next day is a whole nother episode.
That's crazy.
So when you're shooting quickly without a lot of time and preparation, that's why Action USA, that was made to sell abroad. It was never made to go out in theaters. They made it to sell to companies that were abroad, that like they did in the 80s and early 90s. They would make these low budget films, and because it had a lot of action in it, they would sell it abroad, and they'd make profits. But we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney, all these online things they have now. And, at the time back then, there were only, 3, 4 networks. There's ABC, NBC, CBS, and I think maybe Fox was a main network then. But even TNT and HBO and all that stuff hadn't really started up then. It did start, but then they started doing their own things in the 90s. But now there's more work, but not as many people are watching. Like Magnum PI, it would get 80 million viewers as the number 1 hour episodic every week back in the 80s, right? Early 90s. But now the number 1 hour episodic is like NCIS with Mark Harmon. I've worked with 3 or 4 times. But, they get like 18 million viewers a week. So there's more work out there, but not as much money to spread around for the stars as much, because there's so many. There's just so much. There's so many things airing on so many different internet streaming platforms.
You must have thought when you were making movies back then that maybe if the movie wasn't a hit or the show wasn't a hit, you must have thought, well, nobody's ever going to see or hear of that again.
Well, no, what I did it for, I had to work by, there's no nepotism. I don't know anybody in the business. I had to work my way up. And I did a lot of free theater, or paid for it in college, or earned it with scholarship. But so I figured, I need to get demo reels. We didn't have digital cameras then. If you used a video camera, it didn't work. Casting people didn't want to see that. They wanted to see something from a high quality video from a sitcom, or they wanted to see something that was from a 35 millimeter camera. That was, the old fashioned film cameras, and there was a quality to it. And so I used to do the rolls to get little scenes or pieces of scenes to put together for my demo reels. First 2 films I did for free. I said, you've got to give me a copy of the film. I said, that's all I want. I need to build a demo reel. Now kids can go out and shoot their own demo reels, and they look like really good because it's digital. But in those days, you actually had to get work, and then you had to pull stuff from the work, put it on your reels, and then show it to casting directors. And even to get an agent, you needed a demo reel. So I didn't have my agent until I started working on union projects, which was after I worked my way up for a while, just getting stuff, sending it out through, they had a thing called drama logs. So, but a lot of actors work their way up who are my age or a little younger or a little older, from scratch. You worked your way up from the bottom. Maybe there are a few people who didn't, but some people, lucked out when they were younger, and they might have started in their teens or early 20s and got in something huge like Harrison Ford in Star Wars, or, something like that. And then boom, you're a star and you can pretty much do whatever you want. But for a lot of actors, it doesn't work out that way. You don't know what films are going to become well-known or not. So you just do the best job you can and work your way up. And you just, it was Tom Berenger. I saw an interview where he just said, somebody asked him, how do you get into the business? And he just said, just work, just get work, and then just get another job and get another job, and just do the best you can and just keep working. And they said, do you choose or select your characters? And he said, well, I don't. He said, if somebody gives me a job, I do it, and then work, you get to know people on the set. People see if you're good. People remember you, producers, actors, a makeup artist, whatever. And then they go, hey, you should read this guy. He was really good in this movie we worked on, or this TV show we did before. And that's kind of how you start building a resume, and then all of a sudden word of mouth gets out there, and then you still have to audition, but you slowly build a career. And so that's the way it worked for me anyway, and it works for a lot of other people have done it the hard way. And as somebody like Titus on Bosch, he was doing the same thing, just playing character roles, guest starring roles, working his way up, getting some great films that he's been in over the years. And he got that Lost role. That was a very high profile thing. But then, eventually worked his way Deadwood, and he did a lot of films and some big movies, some big blockbusters. But then, getting the lead role on Bosch, that's why he's such a nice guy. See, he's worked his way up. He knows what it's like to go through, and so to become now a lead, become the face of a series, it's why he's so appreciative, and he's such a great guy. It's just because he worked hard to get there for a lot of years.
Yeah. It's who you know, and it's hustle. It sounds like it's the same thing.
Yeah, but it's not it's who you know through work. Who you meet through your work. And if you're good, you move on,
Yeah.
and then they say, hey, because I was in a thing in '89 called Stone Cold, which was a biker movie. But then years later, I remember Michael Cimino, who did Deer Hunter, was doing a film with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he was looking for a biker type character. And somebody said, try to get one of those supporting actors on Stone Cold, which became this kind of cult biker movie with Lance Henriksen and Brian Bosworth and whatever. But it's kind of this kind of cult biker movie. And I played a character called AWOL in it, former military guy who's now a biker. And I had the goatee with the points and the whole thing, and the look, the slick back hair. And he saw that and hired me. And then, so work begets work. I didn't know him beforehand, but my work got me something else because he saw something that I did, or somebody told him, or somebody, gets you into an audition because they saw you in something, or heard you that you were maybe good in something else. And somebody said, you should read Greg Cummins. You should call Greg Cummins' agent and have him read something. Right. And it's not, a lot of people say it's who you know, is you kind of earn who you know. I mean, because you could know people. Yeah. If you're not good, that gets around too. Right. So a lot of people end their careers because they're not up to par. You have to at least have something. And or Tom Hanks used to just say, be good, just be good, be good. People ask how you get to be, make a living in this business. And he said, be good. He just, so, that does, but I'm saying, a lot.
Yeah, I guess how you receive that, it's good advice or bad advice. I guess it all depends on where you're standing and the way that
Yeah. Well, you earn who you know. It's the same with sports or anything else, any other job or business. I mean, if you're an attorney, if you're a salesman, if you're whatever, I mean, if you're good at something somewhere else and you're a nice person and people like you and you get along with people, that's part of it too. You don't want to be a jerk. Nobody wants to work with a jerk. It's just that leads to other things, but you got to get those first jobs and then show what you can do. And then over time, and if you do a good job, then you move on. If you don't do a good job, you don't move on, Yeah. But me, I don't have to worry about that. It's just my good looks. So, it's just, it's just, so it has nothing to do with acting ability whatsoever. It's just this, and it's just, so I just owe it all to just the people on Bosch hate me when I say this, because I joke about this with everyone all these years. I'd have the long hair, the goatee beard, and I'd be awful. And I'm joking about how good looking I am, and for some reason people laugh like they think I'm joking or something. I don't know what it is. But
I think it's worked for you all these years.
Well, of course it has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Self-effacing humor, but you are good looking. You get to brag about it. You are good looking.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
All right. I have a few questions for you that are a little bit out of the box, a little bit fun.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe we ought to play truth or dare. So these are truth questions.
Okay. That scares me. Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to answer them if you don't want to. But has there ever been a role where you did it and then you sat down, you said, it's time, I got the popcorn, I want to see how this is, and you go, oh shit, this is awful.
Yeah.
And what if that's happened? What was it?
Oh yeah. Some of those, not the film you mentioned with Action USA. Actually, that was the first film that I said I could actually show this to my family and not be, actually kind of, that would be okay. The first film I ever did was and it's coming out. It has fans now. It was Hack-O-Lantern. It was directed by an Indian director who, at the time, I think he speaks English now. The producer and director.
This was one of my very first questions. So I'm
he didn't speak. The director didn't speak a word of English. He hired us according to what other people said. That guy I think was good, so he played. And so I got the kind of a bad guy on it. And we would do scenes, and it was horrible. we'd take forever to set up shots. We had 3 crews quit on us. Nobody got paid because we were all beginning. So, and there were a lot of shots screwed up because, people are just learning what to do. And it was just horrible, but it was so bad that I didn't even put it in my resume for years. I didn't want anybody, but now it's come out and there's followings and they're showing it in theaters and I'm going, oh my God. But there's a market out there now for people who love really campy, really bad horror movies from the 80s, low budget especially.
Yeah, we're in that group, to be honest. I mean, the more that we're exploring, the more we're realizing we love this shit too.
I watched it once and went, oh my God, but I didn't expect, I expected it to be like that. I just, but I used a little piece of that here and there to get my next job because there was enough in there that wasn't maybe so bad that I could actually just have something for my demo reel. And that's, so that's one. And, the other ones that were low budget, Dead End City and Deadly Addiction. And then there was another one. Well, Cartel was actually union, but there were some other ones, but you know what? I didn't expect too much from a lot of those films, because, they had small budgets. So I knew maybe the sound wouldn't be that great and the editing wouldn't be that great. We didn't have a lot of time to work on the scenes. It was just one take. If you didn't screw up the lines, move on. It's just, so I kind of learned then that if you really are not connected in a scene, to actually purposely screw up the line, but so they would have to retake it, but I don't do that now, but I just now forget things, but then I had this photographic memory and I just that was a strength of mine, was memorizing until my mid 40s.
Oh, and then it just stopped. All of a sudden, the memory. I'm pretty sure that has happened to me as well.
Without getting too much in, I had a lot of concussions over the years, and I tried to hide it for about 10 or 15 years after 45. But I had my 7th hospitalized where I was knocked out, concussion. I had some motorcycle accidents, and I had a couple doing stunts, and football one, and a couple really bad car accidents. And the last one at 45, 2 years I couldn't work out. I had headaches so bad. My physical symptoms were bad, but I lost my visual memory then. I never gotten it back. I could recite the entire play of Hamlet, everybody's character. I could perform the whole thing for you in 2 hours and 45 minutes right in front of you, And the minute after that concussion, I lost it. Wow. I remember 2 Hamlet monologues, and that's it. I had 25 audition pieces that I had for 18 years that I would just work on and have prepared, and I could do at a moment's notice. Gone. I remembered 1 after that concussion, and I still don't remember them unless I went back and actually worked on them again. So I lost stuff from the past, pieces from short-term, medium, and long, and then I lost the ability to memorize as quickly. So I hid it for a lot of years because I didn't want people not to hire me because I couldn't memorize as fast, and I would go up on lines more because even though you get it memorized, your head isn't completely 100%. And people, remember the lines and don't bump into furniture is what a professional's supposed to do. And when that happened to me, I hid it for a lot of years. But then now I've been more vocal about it because I had 20 or 30 concussions where I'd get dizzy or dazed or see stars, but I'd still be awake, or temporarily paralyzed, but still conscious. But I had 7 where I was knocked unconscious. And the last one at 45 was just one too many. And it never came back. Stuff never came back. And then I've slowly, every year, it's been getting a little worse. I'm trying to get treatment for it now. And I'm being more open. I would not normally say this vocally onto anything where anybody would hear it, because I don't want people not to hire me. But it has created, it takes me 20 times longer to memorize something. You can give me 8 to 10 pages before 20 minutes before a scene. on these lower budget shows, even when I was 40, in my early 40s. And boom, man, I just monologues and everything. And I just look over it, run it. And then I'd shoot it. And I just never go up on a line. Just never go up on a line because I had the visual memory. It's what got me through Cal Berkeley. It got me through the master's acting program. And it was just, everybody has one. It's not a photographic memory, but we got a visual memory, and then we have an audible memory. But that last concussion just took out my ability to see the words. Once I've memorized them, so it takes longer to lock them in. And then even once you think you've locked them in and you've worked on it for a week and a half, and you still go up because your mind just gets dazed sometimes, and that's just the way it is. But I just do the best I can, and I'm getting. Joe Namath went and got this hyperbaric oxygen therapy treatment, and he's getting trying to get a lot of former NFL players who've had a lot of concussions treated with this stuff, with this therapy. And so, this is something I actually never said publicly. I've said it privately to a few people, but I never said publicly. But it caused problems, and it's progressively getting worse. So, but I'm still getting by and doing the best I can, But it's people who have concussion who played sports. Mine happened through some motorcycle and car accidents and 30 years of stunt work. And I just hit my head one too many times. And I didn't, all the other times I came back 100%, but just one too many. And it was
one production that you had to now walk on set and you were like secretly knowing, hey, I'm different.
Oh yeah, no, I knew immediately. Even within that first 2 or 3 years after the concussion, I'd get 3 pages. I'd have a week and a half to work on it. And it was just like, maybe eight lines. And I go do something. And then all of a sudden I go up on a line, and then we do another take. And I get that line and then go up on another line. And I had like a week and a half to work with it, So, I memorized even in my 30s and 40s. In my 30s, 40s, it was just that last concussion. I memorized Hamlet in 2.5 days over a weekend. I memorized huge roles, Salieri and Amadeus. They said, "Can you understudy Salieri in Amadeus?" And I said, "Okay." I went, worked on a Friday, show up at the rehearsal on Monday, and I had it locked in. I was off book. And that was when I was in my 30s. But I was still going like that in my 40s too, until that last concussion, just one too many. But that's so I haven't told anybody that. But
thank you for sharing it. I mean, it's the concussion.
I hope it doesn't keep people. I hope it doesn't keep people from hiring me. It just takes me a little longer to lock things in, and it's just a little harder. But it's not. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. That's all I can say.
No, I mean the NFL is getting serious about concussions now. It's kind of crazy that it's 2021 and we didn't realize how bad these things really mess with people, and we got to get serious with them. So
yeah, and I don't have like Junior Seau commit suicide and people have depression and things like. I don't have any of that stuff. It's just it affected some medical things, some other things, and then it affected the memory. I had physical symptoms for about 2 years after that concussion. So the guy who wrote the book, my first of 4 neurologists over the years, said. He said, I wrote a book. All the symptoms you have are every chapter of my book. You have every symptom of a severe concussion, post-concussion syndrome. And it took a long time for the physical pain of the concussion to go away. So it was just one too many, as I said. And it's okay because, being good looking is the most important thing. It's much more important. It's most important. I'd rather be good looking. I'd rather have bad health than be good looking than the other way around. It's what's the point of being healthy if you're not good looking? Yeah, exactly.
Well, I got one more question for you before I pass it over to Casey. So this is a question. Let's say this sounds kind of dark, but I'm going to say it. You're on your deathbed. You're thinking about your entire career. What's the thing that cuts through everything else as being your highlight and your low light?
You mean career-wise, or
like
just
what do you? Yeah, what floats to the top?
In the totality of life?
No, career-wise.
Okay, yeah, because career is not going to be in those last thoughts at all. Yeah, no. I mean, the important stuff is family and friends and people you love and care about, and or your parents, or wasn't lucky enough to be blessed with children, but I have some great nieces and a nephew, and and 3 younger brothers, and so I had a great mom and dad, and so the family and extended family, daughters, sisters-in-law, and things like that. Life is about the relationship, and I've developed some marvelous relationships in film, and from sport years too. But that when I'm dying on my deathbed, I'm not going to be saying, well, I won an Academy Award, or I did good, I'm happy I did this film, or something like that. That's secondary. That's not the. And if it would be, I'd feel real bad for anybody who felt that way, because you have to have a good life and relationships. I have a few. I'd say my biggest regret is not having children, and as far as I've just been blessed with some wonderful people in my life who've been long-term friends, some for periods of time, but some aren't around anymore. My mom and dad was, I've been very blessed in my life. I worked real hard, but I've been very blessed. But as far as the career stuff on my deathbed, I have no, there's nothing I'm going to think of that I'm glad I did this film or this TV show or that film. But I could say, Bosch, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Cliffhanger, and there were some key films and projects, TV, whatever that were special, And I will always think of fondly. And there's some other ones too. This thing I did, Lone Justice 2, which was actually Ned Blessing with Bill Whitliff. That was a great thing. They were going to nominate me for a guest starring Emmy. But if the series got picked up, it was a series after he did Lonesome Dove, but it didn't get picked up. And there were some great people. But no, I've appreciated the relationships of the people that I've worked with. There are some really wonderful people that I've gotten to know over the years. I mentioned some of these people from Bosch and some of the cast and Eric, and all that. Troy Evans has been incredible for Bosch too, Titus and all the other group. People that they'll be in my heart forever. And some other projects through the years. I have friends that I've made that are very close. And those are more meaningful to me. That's what makes it all worth it, because that's why I got into acting. I didn't get into acting to become rich, become a star, become famous. I didn't do it for that. I said, if I can make a living, and I'm in a theater in Albuquerque, New Mexico, making $400 a week, I'm good, because when the sports didn't work out, it was the only other thing I loved, really loved. I tried a lot of other jobs. I did a lot of other things, was very successful, very unhappy with them. And when I went into acting, I just said, I just need to make enough to just make a living, because you know what? This is what I love to do. But it wasn't just the acting. It was the relationships that I made when I was acting. It was the people I worked with. It was the bond, the camaraderie, sports, it's the teamwork. It's the teams, it's the people I played with. It's the friends I played with, whether it was high school or football, baseball, the summer leagues, and growing up, Bronco Pony, Cold American Legion, it was the team sports. You do as well as you can individually, but it's the team, the camaraderie, I think, and that's what it is to me with the acting. It's, I have a job to do and I try to do it as well as I can, but The bonding I have with people, yes, you want to do a good job and you want to get appreciation for doing good work. Anybody does in whatever they do. Even roofing, Casey, even roofing, you know. I mean, so, you know, you want a client to say, hey, God, thank you. That you just did an incredible job. That was great. Thank you. But it's getting to meet the good people and then sharing things and getting to know them and developing an emotional relationship and then having that last for periods of time, you know, those are the things that I remember. Those are the things that mean something to me. It's not just about the work, you know, it's about the relationships and the teamwork and the working as a group. And that to me, and it's the crew members, makeup artists, hair, wardrobe, cameraman. I mean, you know, it's the people I'm working with that that's what I, you know, that's what's meaningful to me, you know. And the only ones that I would regret are the ones where I was on sets where people weren't nice, right? You know, and everybody was yelling and screaming at each other, and it was just a hellish situation or whatever. But you know, those well, you know, I just try to forget that stuff, but that's few and far between, you know.
Do you ever get into a fist fight on the set? You ever get pissed off so bad you're like, I'm the bad guy, I'm the good looking bad guy, but I'm still the bad guy. I'm gonna mess you up.
No, there's one actor in a film that I did who was not really a trained actor that got into fight scenes that dislocated my Adam's apple in a rehearsal. And then I told him, and I'm not even going to say who, because, and then he kept putting my Adam's apple right here on his arm and squeezing. I said, no, you put it here. And then I'll do the acting and make it look, just squeeze hard enough to give me something to work with. But here, and he just popped it out of joint the second time. I couldn't talk the first time. He squeezed it so hard. And I say, you don't do it. You do it like this. And he just ignored me, did it again, and then just popped my Adam's apple way over here. And then I popped it back, and I was fuming, and I wanted to hit him. And I'm not going to say who. And but that was the only time I ever got really, really mad at somebody. And another time, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme accidentally broke my nose on a leg kick when I was kicked in the crotch, come forward, and he came up with a leg kick. But I mean, you know, he was so apologetic. And he kissed me like 100 right? So he's just kissing me, and I'm so sorry for like the whole rest of the day, you know. After the blood stopped and I kept going with the scene, but it broke my nose. But so I wasn't mad at him because he was just so apologetic.
Oh my God. He did that.
The other situation,
he accidentally stabbed somebody on Cyborg on that. You shouldn't work with him anymore, Greg.
The other situation, though, the person was completely unapologetic and was actually a total jerk about it. And I wanted to do something. You know, I would have had to get in one quick punch because he was much bigger and much stronger than I was.
Stallone.
But not anybody that I mean, Stallone was great. There were so many actors I worked with that were great. This was an inexperienced actor who came from sports, who went into acting and was doing his first film. And I'm not going to say, and it wasn't Fred Dreyer either. He's a great guy.
Is this the one that did your Adam's apple?
Who?
Is that who you're talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. Can I?
No, I haven't said the name. I haven't said the name of the person who did my Adam's apple.
Can I ask you, did he play a serial killer in the movie?
No, he played the lead. He played the lead.
We're gonna get it, Casey.
He played an undercover. He played an undercover FBI agent or something like that in a biker movie. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the episode. That's it for today, but we're going to have a part 2 of Gregory Scott Cummins in just a few weeks. Keep your eyes open for that. Or don't. I mean, nobody's making you do it.